Once I decided I wanted to reach my fire number, once I decided I did not want to work past 50, once I decided that goal was important to me and I was going to achieve that goal by any means necessary, once I decided that this job was stressing me out and I didn't want to go to another job, I wanted this to be my last job, I was willing to do anything strange for some change. Let's say you want 500,000 in your portfolio at retirement across all of your accounts, your 401k, your Roth IRA, your individual taxable brokerage, across all of your accounts, you want 500,000. But you didn't get serious about your finances until your 40s. That is probably the case for the vast majority of people. So you're not alone. I don't want you to judge yourself. I don't want you to beat yourself up about what you didn't know in the past, what you should have done, what you could have done. The past is the past. Let's talk about what you can do right now. If you're just getting serious about your finances now in your 40s, you have to pull at least 2 of those 3 levers at the same time. If you're in your 40s, you still have at least 20 years ahead of you before retirement. Use those 20 years to your advantage. Start investing now. Invest with a plan. Invest with a strategy. Start pulling lever 1. That is time. So how can we choose which of the other 2 levers to pull? Because if you want to achieve financial independence, you have to pull at least 2 of them. When I got serious about my finances and I decided I wanted to retire early, the majority of the people who are on track to achieve financial independence, they usually have a target of investing at least 50% of their net income. And I don't know if y'all watched the last video with my sis, Coach B. She says some things may sound challenging when you hear them. But if you are on a mission and you have a goal that you want to achieve, you need to be willing to do something strange for some change. An example of doing something strange for some change, I know the first thing came to my mind was, but we're not talking about that. But doing things that are outside of the ordinary, doing things that society does not encourage, that society has not normalized, that your friends or family may look at you funny if you do it. They may question, why are you doing that, girl? You make all that money. By choosing to do things for you and your goals and not listening to the noise that's going on around you because you're not adhering to status quo, because you're not giving into what society says is the appearance of wealth or the appearance of success. So one of the strange things that I did for some change, I downsized my living situation. I moved outside of the metropolitan area, so I was further from work, and I downsized the size of my home. Once I decided I wanted to reach my fire number, once I decided I did not want to work past 50, once I decided that goal was important to me and I was going to achieve that goal by any means necessary, once I decided that this job was stressing me out and I didn't want to go to another job, I wanted this to be my last job, I was willing to do anything strange for some change. And the choice that I made was downsizing my lifestyle, moving away from the city and moving into a smaller home. It was probably about half the size, but I went through everything I owned. If I hadn't used it in a year or 2, I got rid of it. Either sold it, donated it, gave it away, threw it in the trash. I got rid of it because a lot of the space that I was paying for was just to store junk I wasn't using. So I had to get rid of a lot of things in order to be able to fit my life in this smaller space. By doing that, I saved several $100s per month, and I invested all of it. That is how I got my investment rate, or you may have heard the term your savings rate. That is how I got my savings rate up to 50%. I was willing to be a little uncomfortable temporarily in order to achieve my long-term goal. Y'all know what my life is now, so I don't need to say it. Was it worth that sacrifice for the years that I was in that smaller home? Absolutely. I freed up hundreds of dollars every single month, probably more if I think about all the other ways I saved. But just from my housing cost alone, I freed up hundreds of dollars and invested all of that money. And that took my savings rate from, I think I was at about 35 to 40% before I moved. And after I moved, it bumped my savings rate up to over 50%. That increased my lever number two, my capital. So think about doing something strange for some change. Think about what you're willing to give up if that goal is really important to you. What are you willing to temporarily give up, I should say? Because it's just temporary. If it causes you some discomfort, it's just temporary. It's not forever. You just got your eyes on the prize. You're focused on the goal. So, what are you willing to do in order to maximize and pull lever number two? If you have debt, what are you willing to do to make yourself slightly uncomfortable so you can expedite paying off that debt? And once you pay off that debt, that will give you more leverage to pull lever number two. That will give you more money to invest in the stock market. If you're comfortable and you're not willing to sacrifice anything, financial independence is not really important to you. But you have to be willing to sacrifice something for a larger goal that's important to you. Can you downsize your home so you will have extra disposable income to pay off your debt faster? Can you move in with a family member for 6 months to a year to strategically pay off that debt faster? Are you willing to rent out a room in your current home to bring in extra income to pay off that debt faster? What are you willing to do? What are you willing to do that's outside of the norm in order to be able to pull lever two harder? Let me know. Let me know what's realistic for you. And then I want you to stretch yourself a little bit further than what's realistic, because I want you to be uncomfortable. It was uncomfortable for me to move from my luxury apartment with the indoor theater, the indoor basketball court, with like all of the amenities you can possibly think of, living only 5 minutes from the metro. It was uncomfortable for me to give that up, to say, in this date, in the future, I want to stop working. And I know in order to get there, in order to make that possible, I have to be uncomfortable right now. And when I started looking for places I wanted to live, I made up all the excuses in my mind, but it's so far. This place is so small. I've never lived in a place this small before. Oh my goodness, this place doesn't have a theater. I lived in a place that had a theater, a basketball court, everything indoors. I gave it all up. All of those amenities, I gave it up because I had a larger goal that was more important to me. I didn't care what other people think. My friends used to come to my house to watch Scandal. We used to have Scandal watching parties on the theater screen. I gave all of that up because I had a larger goal. So it was not comfortable to get rid of my belongings. It was not comfortable to move to this smaller space. We used to laugh about it, me and one of my friends. We called it the matchbox because that's how small it was. I moved from a comfortable luxury home to what my friends jokingly called the matchbox. If you can imagine that, it literally was the matchbox. And I still used to host little events here and there, very small ones, but it was not the same. It was uncomfortable. But that is how I achieved my goal, by allowing myself to be uncomfortable for a little while. What are you willing to do to be uncomfortable for a little while so you can pull lever two a little bit more? If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Let's talk about it.